guys, thanks for joining us again. We're here for the second part of the Canine Connection with our special edition with Dr Andrea del Carro on puppy healthcare.
Thank you, Victoria. Yes, we had so many speech and topics that we need to do a second interview for sure.
Yeah, I have to say it's been a huge hit, and we've covered so much. So yeah, really excited to cover the second part. You mentioned it earlier about immunity. Obviously, it's very important that owners know when they have a very young puppy and they haven't done those vaccines yet. Obviously, there's a period of time that people are having to wait for walking their puppy and meeting other puppies.
Yes, mostly meeting other puppies.
Yeah, and of course areas where puppies have been to the toilet, other dogs have been to the toilet prior. So that's obviously something people have to be aware of as well. And I'm guessing that's something that you advise clients.
Yes, technically, before that the puppy will be exposed to high risk situations. So it means area where there are a lot of dogs walking, peeing and pooing. The owner should wait at least few days after the first booster. So few days after 3 months vaccine.
Yeah, because I know many people are, in my experience meeting clients, sometimes they're getting out there too early without allowing that immunity to build. But the only thing that I sometimes will advise from a socialization point of view, because obviously you want to balance the two, is that they can take the puppy in their arms. At least the puppy's hearing things, and but as long as you're not socializing with the other dogs and putting the puppy on the ground, obviously just balancing the two situations.
Yes, as you said, it's not sometimes easy to have the good balance.
Exactly.
Protect the dog from some virus, but give the dog the opportunity to socialize properly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And obviously there are other vaccines that people can think about. So you've got the leishmaniose, which is not something that we really consider in the UK, but obviously in France and Italy, it's something we have to think about. And maybe you can talk through what the leishmaniose is. Obviously, we're talking about mosquitoes here, so maybe you could talk to people about that. And obviously there's the kennel cough vaccine, which are the two that I have most contact with in terms of my clients' dogs. So I was just wondering, what are the timelines on these, and do you feel that they're good to do these vaccines?
Let's start from kennel cough. It's a optional vaccine.
Yes.
It's really recommended if you are going with your dog to dog show, or you are just going where in a place there are many dogs from different owners, like some training field sometimes. Yep. And from the other side, responsible pet sitter, sometimes they ask it.
Yeah, if I have any dogs coming for residential training, I always ask for this vaccine to be done.
Kennel cough is not a bad disease, but it's very contagious.
Yeah.
And I recommend on short nose small breeds like Chihuahua, Spitz to make this kennel cough vaccine, because they are so small and fragile that if they get kennel cough, maybe they are not eating for 24, 48 hours, and they are so small they can get weak very easily.
Very quickly.
So in this breed, maybe it's better to do it. Okay. It's once a year.
Okay.
Concerning leishmaniasis, for sure, in UK, luckily for you, it's not a problem. But if you live in Italy or in the French Riviera, you need to vaccine against leishmaniasis, because leishmaniasis, it's good deal only for financial of the vet. When a dog has leishmaniasis, the dog is going to the vet very often. The dog has a shortened lifespan, and it can suffer. So it's better to make a vaccine. A few years ago, we had a vaccine was very strong, with very often giving side effect. Dog was sick, some allergic reaction. But nowadays we have a new vaccine with a new way to stimulate the immunity, and it's very, very well tolerated, even in puppies, even in small breeds.
Great. And clients would typically renew that every year, wouldn't they? The leishmaniose.
With the new vaccine, it's 1 injection once a year. With the old one was 3 injections the first year, so it was a little bit hard for the dog and expensive for the owner. The new one is just once a year. But if your dog has been exposed to one summer in French Riviera, for example, with no vaccine, we need to make a test before to be sure that he's not hosting the disease.
Yeah, you do a speed test, no?
Yes, just 3 drops of blood, and you have got the results in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
in
great.
10 minutes.
And are the treatments for leishmaniose now, are they a little bit better? Are we able to manage it?
No new treatment, unfortunately. We have 2. One, it's 28 days with daily injection with high risk of side effect of the kidneys. And sometimes our leishmaniasis is already affecting the kidneys, so it's too strong for the dog. Yeah. And second one is not allowed in France, but we can find it in Italy. It's 1 month treatment. It's just a liquid to give orally once a day. The problem that your dog will never be totally negative. The disease can be just resting, hiding.
Like dormant.
Yes, and months, years after, come out again.
Okay. And could you just tell the listeners what leishmaniose is? Because I'm not sure whether we covered that, but
Leishmaniose, it's a small protozoa, so it's bigger than a bacteria, and this protozoa is hosted in very small mosquitoes. They are called, we call them, I don't know properly in English, but it's phlebotomus.
yes.
These mosquitoes are very active in summertime. They're active when the nighttime temperature is at least 12.5 degrees during the night. And they're very active when there is the sunset and the sunrise. So the most important period of the day when you need to protect your dog if you are not treating or vaccinating him.
Okay. And the season pretty much starts around March, so it's something that people need to think about,
Yes, better
now.
to prevent disease end of March, beginning of April, depending from the season. And what you need to remember is that the vaccine is protecting the dog at least 1 month after the injection. So we need to vaccinate a little bit
A
early
little bit
in the
before.
season.
And of course, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but of course, you've got the spot-on treatments as well, which will provide a certain level.
Unfortunately, vaccine does not provide 100% of immunity.
So you still have to use a 2, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. If there are any allergic reactions to certain vaccines, with some vaccines, do you have an option to use a different brand? Is that
For
an
sure,
option?
if there are any allergic reaction, we note it in the folder of the dog, and the next time we try to use another brand. Unfortunately, for leishmania, we have one vaccine, but luckily it gives very few side effects.
Good, good. And in terms of wormer and tick treatments, obviously, do you find there are pros and cons with different marks? Because I take my clients' dogs many times for residential training. We spend a lot of time in Italy, particularly in northern Italy. I tend to be using for the wormer. I tend to use Milbivax because I know that's working on the heartworms as well. But obviously there are lots of different brands as well in terms of the tick treatment, and the Vector and the Advocate, I understand, are helping to protect against the mosquitoes. So could you maybe just talk people through the different options and sort of how often we have to do these things?
For sure. I don't have a favorite brand.
Okay.
I'm just checking what there is inside the drug.
Sure.
For example, about the worming, I like, as you say, the drugs with milbemycin because it's also protecting of heartworms. And in few areas of Italy, there is this disease in summertime. I'm just careful to use it on these breeds that can carry the MDR1 gene mutation.
Yes. Yes, which the Australian Shepherds we have to be careful with. Yeah.
Shetland Shepherd.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if dog is carrying this gene mutation, the drug can have very bad neurological effect on the dog, even kill the dog.
Yeah.
So on these dogs, I'm switching to other drugs, for example.
Okay. And with the, I'm actually, I did have it. I was going to ask you about the MDR1 test. That's just basically a saliva test, isn't it? And it gets sent off to the lab, and you can know if your Australian Shepherd or all the other breeds are carrying it.
As all genetic tests nowadays, you don't need to make blood sample. You have this little brush, and you're just making this mouth brush and send the brush to the lab. And a few days after, you got the results. Okay,
great. And obviously with the tick treatment and also protecting against the mosquitoes, we're doing that sort of once a month. That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
You have different options. In this area, for example, close to the seaside, winters are pretty warm this year, for example. So we have the risk of fleas all year long. In this case, it's better to treat your dog against fleas all the year. What you need to remind that then when the season of leishmania starts, so end of March, April, we need to protect from fleas, from tick, and for these little mosquitoes that are carrying leishmania. So for winter time, we can use normal drops, collar, or for example, also pills. You have pills that work for 3 months long. But in summertime, the only drugs that are really effective against this mosquito carrying leishmania are the drops. Specific brands like Vectra 3D, Effitix, Advantix, for example, or Frontline 3 Active, once a month. If you are taking bath in the seaside with your dogs pretty often, even every 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
One alternative can be to switch to the collar. It's not. I don't like it on very small dogs, but on big dogs you can use collar like there are 2 on the Excalibur or Seresto. And they work for 6 months.
Okay. And then obviously with the wormer, people are doing that with a puppy once a month up until 6 months normally, and then after 6 months, once every 3 months. I'm right in saying?
Yes, mostly in France, there is this old school that puppies must be treated against worm once a month up to 6 months. I'm doing once a month up to 4 months, maybe sometime I jump the 5 months because I don't want to use too often.
Okay.
And after 6 months, it's 2-3 times a year at least. I will say a little bit more often if the puppy is living with children.
Yeah.
And what the owner needs to remind that the treatment against worms is not preventing, it's treating. So you give the pills today.
Good to keep in mind.
If your dog has worms, the treatment is killing the worms, but it doesn't prevent that 2 days after the dog working in the park can leak a poo and get worms again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And what do you have an opinion about homeopathic treatments if people don't want to go down the route of using pharmaceuticals?
I'm not a really homeopathic guy.
Okay.
I recommend phytotherapy, for example, to protect against phlebotomies from leishmania. So you can use essential oils around the collar, drops, or a little bandana during your walk with geranium, citronella, or essential oils. They can really help to avoid the insect to bite the animals. But homeopathic treatment against fleas, usually the fleas are coming back.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's just good to know. I certainly do have clients that will ask me about homeopathic. And of course, people are going to want to travel with their pet. I mean, we spoke about this earlier. So just talk us a little bit about what age a puppy can have his pet passport. Obviously, that's reliant on doing your rabies. But yeah, just maybe tell people a little bit about that.
There is no specific age for passport. Passport in France is delivered by practitioner, so normal vet is me.
Yep.
In Italy, if you want a passport, you need to go to the state vet. It's this ASL, Azienda Sanitaria Locale.
Okay.
Technically, there is no reason to get a passport before the age of 3 months because passport is needed to travel, and the dog before 3 months and 21 days cannot travel. Sometimes I'm doing to puppies passport at 2 months old, but they will use it after.
Yes.
There is a nice website in France. It's called the anivetvoyage.fr.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we put a note in that at the bottom of the podcast.
I will send you the link.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
Sure. Because there is a nice world map. You can choose the country and it tells you which requirements are needed to go to this country with your pets.
Yeah, that's good. That's good for people to know.
Knowing that for European Union, technically only rabies vaccine made at least 21 days before the departure is needed. But what I suggest to my clients is just if you want to travel with your puppies, just remind to call me 1 month before the departure.
Yeah, so you're all prepared. And I know in the UK we have DEFRA, and obviously people can chat to their vet in the UK. But in the UK we have DEFRA, where people can check the regulations as well. If you're based in the UK,
has some after the Brexit some particular rules, but it's still.
Oh yeah, of course that changed a lot of things, didn't it? Yeah, with Brexit.
But still not so complicated. What it can take a lot of time to prepare if you decide to travel with your puppies out of Europe, because every country has different rules. And for example, it's very complicated if you want to go to Australia. Yeah. And they have recently the case of a client who decided to move to Dubai with the puppy. And we discovered that dogs are allowed to go to Dubai only in cargo, not with the owner. If they are if they are small puppies, they need to go to cargo, so it can be stressful for the puppies.
Yes. Okay, well, good. It's a good point of call that people can look at that website and check out, and obviously speak to their vet. Is there any special recommendations? I think we touched on this a little bit earlier for veterinary care in terms of people placing their puppies with pet sitters and kennels. Obviously, we spoke about the kennel cough. But
yes, I recommend in this case to vaccine the puppies against kennel cough, and in case of stressed puppies, maybe the first time when the dog is going to the pet sitter, maybe use some natural compound to distress. You can have this
DAP or
pheromones collars.
Yeah, DAP, yeah.
Or some tablets based with some extract of maternal milk. There are no side effects. The worst side effect is maybe they are useless.
Yep.
But they're not hurting the animal. But they can really help the stressed puppy to discover the new environment with older dogs mostly.
Yeah. Super. Good to know. And great. So in terms of regular checkups, would you recommend seeing the puppy regularly?
In checkup at the clinic?
Yeah.
I like to see puppy around 6-8 months for different reasons. If you're speaking about small breed puppies, sometimes they're not changing the milk teeth.
Okay.
So at that time, if they're not changing, maybe we need to plan to take them out under anesthesia. For large breeds, I like to see them around 7-8 months to make a short, easy orthopedic exam, because they have higher risk of some dysplasia, for example, and because many owners, they have the tendency to overfeed the
Over,
puppies because
yeah,
a chubby puppy is nice, but we
yeah,
know that large breed chubby puppies has more risk to develop some orthopedic condition. So that meeting around 7-8 months, it's mostly to educate the owner to
yeah.
feed properly the puppy.
Yeah. Okay. And obviously, you would have certain breeds in mind with that. Obviously, with certain breeds being more susceptible to hip problems. I don't know, a German Shepherd
Nowadays,
or a Golden
for sure,
Retriever.
historically it was German Shepherd, but
Yeah.
nowadays we can find this disease, if you're speaking about hip dysplasia, in all dogs larger than 20 kilos, let's say.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Okay. And do you have any special recommendations in terms of diet? I know that we chatted about this just before the podcast, having a little chat about grain and that type of thing. I just wondered, are there any special supplements that you would recommend? Chondroitin, glucosamine, any of these types of things?
Pet food is a huge business, a huge market.
Yeah.
You can find so many offers from dry food, homemade food.
Lots of options nowadays. Yeah.
Barf
Yeah.
is becoming very popular.
Mhm.
I still recommend dry food. What I suggest to the owner, do not save money in the food of your puppies the first year of age, because you can see the side effect all the life long of the dog.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
For sure, there are some very popular brands because of the history. They were the first to be on the market, or they are doing a lot of sponsor in social media, TV,
Sure.
by vet as well. What the owner need to be careful, it's for sure nowadays seems that low grain is better than grains. So low grain means more protein, and mostly for cats, because cats has higher needs in protein than dog. And sometimes the different price is because of the quality of the components.
Yeah.
So really take time to read the package.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same with our food as as well. Yeah.
With my wife, we made an estimation a few days ago just for fun, and we choose a high brand, not very famous food, but very high brand.
Yeah.
And very famous food, but medium brand. And in fact, to feed the pup, the difference of cost per day was 15 cents per day if you switch to the high brand food.
Okay.
So not much more expensive, but your dog is really well fed.
Yeah. And the key take home message, I think, is what you're saying is really take your time to look at the ingredients as well. Yeah.
Type of protein.
Yeah.
And quality of the ingredients.
And we're obviously looking for something that's got a higher protein. Yeah.
Yes, but we see more often, for example, some eye condition or skin disease based on some allergies.
Yes.
And we know that allergies is based also to some protein. And the most popular protein, like chicken,
yeah.
the cheapest, the most popular, is the most allergic one.
Yeah.
So sometimes we need to switch to some food without chicken, for example. But on the other side, European law allowed to put on the package of your pet food, for example, fish, if you put at least 15% of fish in your food.
Which is not really representative of...
The rest can be chicken.
Yeah.
So you need to switch to a monoprotein. So we are sure that there is only one protein in that food.
Yeah. Do you think some of the dark meats, such as the beef, the wild boar, are these sometimes more preferential meats to be looking at other than chicken?
They have their
more
taste,
nutritious, do you think?
And sometimes you can see that the dog during his life, he's bored of one taste and you
want to change. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we chatted about this before, and I know this is a super, super big subject. So I think that Andrea is going to try and condense it as much as he can, and we'll talk about it again on other podcasts. But we're talking about castration and spaying, and it's obviously in the forefront of owners' minds when they get their puppy. And a lot of my clients, in terms of training behaviour, they're asking me about it. So from the veterinary point of view and the benefits in terms of health, can you give us some tips and advice?
It's a hot topic, really, because things are changing nowadays, and as specialists, we are really waiting this consensus from the World Vet Association that should come out in next week. I know a few of the authors, and they wrote 150 pages about spaying.
Wow. Okay.
And this will give more scientific feedback on decision. For a long time, the vets were recommending to spay earlier than possible, if you speak about females before first period. And nowadays we have some research made mostly in the USA about longevity and the risk to develop some tumors or autoimmune disease. And it seems that to be spayed a little bit later, it's more healthy. So my personal opinion, but maybe it will change after this consensus. I will read this consensus. It will be out.
Yes.
My
So we'll have to
personal
have you back on to talk
With
about
pleasure.
this.
My personal opinion is to wait at least the end of the growth. So it means between 1 year and 1.5 years, depending from the size of the breed. It means that the owner needs to live this experience of period at least once if they're adopting a female.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, it'd be great to chat about this again when you've seen the research.
New information.
Yeah, for new information, and obviously it's good that the science keeps moving forward and we're learning more. But that gives people a bit of an idea. So in terms of I always recommend clients to have a little puppy pack, things that they can keep in the home, maybe like winter pad to protect the paws, as we know. Like obviously you're the professional, so correct me if I'm wrong. Puppies' paws can be quite delicate. So if we have quite extreme heat or extreme cold, then a winter pad can be something great.
In summertime, walk on the street in this.
And we get some really hot summers here, and then obviously the probiotics as well. Florentero, which is an Italian brand that I tend to get, and also the Fortiflora, the Procolin. Do you recommend having a little bit of a kit at home that you can call on when there's certain issues?
For sure, any drugs should be prescribed by the vet, but you can have some compounds at home, as you said, some cream for the paws. It's mandatory for me, and something natural against diarrhea. So sometimes we have like Procolin, you say, Canicure. It's a mixture of probiotics and montmorillonate derivate. So they are natural absorbing drugs that they can help in case of little diarrhea. I will suggest us to have eye cleaner or some artificial tears. Because sometimes if you have some summer walk in the countryside, you can have some dust going in the eyes, and it's not conjunctivitis, just make the eye more wet can help, and some eye cleaner. Ears cleaner as well.
And the ear cleaner, quite important, particularly if the dog is swimming, to pop some in after swimming as well. Yeah, I always have that at home. Great. And would you recommend people getting the pet sort of cleaning products, these types of things, from pet stores, or do you think that is the veterinary grade products, are they a higher?
If we are speaking about normal product, and your dog has some ear or skin disease, I think that these pet food brands should be okay. But if you start to need some, for example, ear cleaner with some antiseptic inside, better to switch to
a veterinary brand. Okay. And the MDR1 test we chatted about before, that I was going to ask you about that, but we covered that earlier. So great. I was going to ask you, are you finding a particular breed that's most popular at the moment? I see a lot of not German Shepherds, but Australian Shepherds. They seem a lot of people are choosing this breed. Australian
Shepherd is the most famous breed in France, the top one in the ranking of breeds. The miniature American Shepherd is starting to become very popular because it's a smaller version of Australian Shepherd, so maybe more easy to keep in a smaller house. On the French Riviera, there is still the big fashion of Spitz, but what we are seeing is that new owner are going more and more often about this hybrid. So we have any kind of hybrid, like Maltipoo is very popular and very expensive. So it's a hybrid between Bichon Maltese and Poodle. From the other side, we have also hybrid like Labdoodle. It's, I think, the first hybrid that became popular. And we start to see a lot of many Pomsky. So it's this hybrid between Pomeranian and Siberian Husky. But
I haven't seen one of those yet.
They're very, how would say, heterogeneous. You can have small Pomsky, high Pomsky, and sometimes character is not so easy because strong character of Pomeranian from one side and not very good listener of the owner of the Husky on the other side. Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard of that new hybrid, but great. And obviously I did want to make the point, I highly advocate, obviously, people also going to their rescue centres and looking for puppies as well. That usually many puppies there that are needing a really good loving home. So I did just want to make that point.
And in terms of exercise, we touched on that before. Obviously, a lot of people like to run with their, are thinking to run with their puppy eventually. What sort of age should they look at that? And obviously, we don't want to be exercising our puppies too much in the early stages, because obviously there's a lot of growth and formation going on during that time. So what would you say in terms of exercise?
I would say that exercise is good because they need to grow and develop also some muscles.
Yes.
Over exercise is not good. So
Yes.
it means you should walk with your puppies, not run the
Yes.
first month, and understand when the puppy is tired. There is no scheduled time, but you need to understand when the puppy is tired. What you need to avoid is to run, and avoid it when you are in the countryside or even at home, because the puppy should not jump on the stair, for example. So many breeders say for large breeds, hold your puppies in the arm doing stairs up to the age of 6-7 months. But can you imagine to hold, I don't know, a Newfoundlander at 6 months is 35
it's
kilos.
a lot.
So poor back of the owner.
Yes.
But what I say, if you can hold the puppy working on stairs, for example, but teach him to walk in the leash on the stairs.
Yeah.
So if he's going on the stairs but walking properly with no jumping, there are no risk for the articulation, for example.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good stuff. Good to know. And I wanted to ask you, just on a more personal note, do you have dogs yourself?
Yes, many.
How many dogs do you have?
30?
Wow, okay.
That's
So you're very busy.
Yes, when you're a son of breeders and married with the breeders, you have many dogs.
Many dogs. It sounds great. And are there any special projects coming up for you? Obviously, you've got the new clinic, so things are very busy with that. Is there anything else on the agenda for this year?
I've been very busy now. In these days, I'm working to organize the European Congress of Small Animal Reproduction in Barcelona. I've been invited to organize a congress in Italy as well, so it's pretty stimulating to decide what to speak about, who invite to speak about it.
Good.
And for the clinic, I really wonder in next month to be able to provide a new service of endoscopy.
Oh, great.
Surgical endoscopy and diagnosis endoscopy.
Excellent. So it's really becoming a really big project for you this year. So it's all very exciting.
Yes.
And just to finish with, Andrea, can you just tell people where they can find you? And obviously, I think you're going to send me all your links over, and we'll make sure that's at the bottom of the podcast so people know where to come and see you.
I will send you all link for the website, the Facebook page, but the clinic, it's in Menton, close to the highway exit, in the same building when you have Jiffy and McDonald's. So people are pretty
super easy to find. Yeah, and lots of parking, which is always good.
Yes, that's one of the reasons I choose that place.
Excellent. Well, I think we covered an awful lot today, and I cannot thank you enough for coming to join me. It's been absolutely super, and I think we gave everybody a sort of really, really good basis of information for puppy care. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you for the invitation. It was really nice.
Thank you.